Ever wondered how many wives is too many? 1, 2? How about 40? If you're fascinated by the hidden histories that shape modern beliefs, hit that subscribe button right now, because you've just found the Mormon Deep Dive channel. We're dedicated to exploring the complex, often uncomfortable, truths of Mormon history using verifiable sources. Today we are retackling one of the most controversial topics of all, Joseph Smith and his approximately 40 wives. Let's get into it. Most people associate polygamy with Brigham Young leading the pioneers to Utah, but the practice, known as plural marriage, actually began with the founder of Mormonism himself, Joseph Smith, in the 1830s and 40s in Illinois. The official church essay, Plural Marriage in Kirtland and Nauvoo, confirms this, listing dozens of women sealed to Smith. This wasn't something happening out in the open. For years it was practiced in secret, known only to a tight inner circle. The public and even many church members were kept in the dark. Smith publicly denied practicing polygamy on several occasions, which adds a thick layer of complexity to the story. So who were these women? They weren't just single adults. The list is startling. It includes teenagers, with Helen Mar Kimball being the youngest, sealed to Smith just shy of her 15th birthday. It also includes women who were already married to other men. That's right, a practice scholars call polyandry. At least a dozen of Smith's wives were already married to other active, faithful Mormon men at the time of their sealing to him. This fact is often a huge shock to people, even those familiar with Mormon history. These weren't widows or single women. They were wives and mothers in existing families. Now, let's pause and consider the justification for this. According to church records and journals from the time, this was all framed as a divine commandment. An angel with a drawn sword supposedly appeared to Joseph Smith, telling him he must obey the principle of plural marriage or be destroyed. This divine command was the reason given to the women and their families. For them, it was a test of faith, a sacred duty tied directly to their salvation and eternal standing. Imagine being a young woman or a faithful husband approached with such a directive from your prophet. The emotional and spiritual pressure must have been immense. It wasn't about romance. It was presented as a core religious ordinance necessary for the highest degree of heaven. Here's where the story takes a significant turn, and it's a detail that often gets lost. While these sealings were for time and all eternity, meaning they were meant to last forever, evidence suggests that not all of them involved earthly marital relations as we understand them. Some scholars, using personal journals and affidavits, argue that some of the sealings, particularly those two already married women, were eternity-only sealings. This meant the woman would be Smith's wife in the afterlife, but would remain with her current husband in this life. However, for many others, including teenagers like Helen Mar Kimball and sisters Emily and Eliza Partridge, the evidence strongly points to them living in Smith's home and having the full husband-wife relationship that implies. The secrecy surrounding all this created a powder keg in the community of Nauvoo, Illinois. When a newspaper, the Nauvoo Expositor, was established by disillusioned former Mormons to expose polygamy and other controversial practices. Joseph Smith, who was also the mayor of the city, ordered the press to be destroyed. This act was seen as a direct assault on the freedom of the press and led to his arrest. He was taken to a nearby jail in Carthage, Illinois, and it was there, just days later, that a mob stormed the jail and killed him and his brother Hiram. The controversy over plural marriage didn't just define his later life. It directly led to the events that caused his death. After Smith's death, the practice of polygamy didn't end. In fact, it expanded dramatically under his successor, Brigham Young. What was once a secret practice among a few dozen became a mainstream public doctrine for the majority of Mormons who followed Young to Utah. It became a defining feature of 19th century Mormonism, leading to decades of conflict with the United States government. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints officially discontinued the practice in 1890, but the legacy is undeniable. It's a history that the modern church has only recently begun to discuss more openly, publishing essays and sources for members to study for themselves. But the story isn't just about Joseph Smith. It's about the women. Women like Eliza R. Snow, a brilliant poet and leader who became a plural wife and later a major figure in the Women's Relief Society. And women like Emma Smith, Joseph's first wife, Her story is heartbreaking. She struggled immensely with plural marriage, sometimes consenting, other times fiercely opposing it. Imagine the pain and conflict of knowing your husband was being sealed to your friends, and even the teenage girls you'd taken into your home as helpers. After Joseph's death, Emma refused to go west with Brigham Young, stayed in Illinois, never acknowledged that her husband had other wives. Her descendants went on to form the reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, now known as the Community of Christ, which has always rejected polygamy. So as we unpack this, it raises some really tough questions. How does this history affect your view of Joseph Smith as a prophet? And for those with a background in faith, how do you reconcile a divine command with actions that seem so ethically complex to our modern minds? Finally, what responsibility does a church have to be transparent about the most difficult parts of its own history? Now, this is the kind of history we explore here on the Mormon Deep Dive channel. Don't shy away from the uncomfortable details, because that's where the real understanding lies. This isn't about tearing down faith, but about building a more complete and honest picture of the past. If you found this exploration valuable and want to continue the journey with us, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. It's the best way to support our mission of providing well-researched, source-based content. And please drop your answers to those questions in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'm genuinely interested to hear the perspective from our audience. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.